Ladies and gentlemen, Gene DiNapoli.
Wow.
Love that intro.
How are you, Gene?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Very good. Very good. We every time I hear that theme, I just get so revved up and ready to go.
I know that's what we play at the beginning of the shows, just like Elvis did. It's a souped up version.
Yeah.
And it's good. Hi, everybody in social media land. Thanks for joining us tonight once again. Right in the middle of October, beautiful weather out, and fall. The colors are changing. Mike, how was your weekend, buddy?
It went really fast, Gene. It was a blink of an eye. It's Friday after work. Boom. Next thing you know, Monday work. So
I know.
There you go.
But,
What about you?
At least we're here to enjoy our lives, right?
Yeah, exactly. How was your weekend? What did you do?
Very good. Very good. You know, very happy. We did a show Friday night in a restaurant, which, yep, there's the picture.
You are.
From Friday's show. We had a nice half a house, social distanced, but people are coming out, which is great. And then I got up the next morning and I'm an ordained minister now, and I officiated, a wedding in Danbury, Connecticut. That's Erin and Dennis. We congratulate them. So I officiated the wedding as Elvis, and it was the start of a great weekend. Went to a nice event Saturday, run by my friend Tia. And then yesterday, my wife and I went to our friend Francisco's art opening in Pelham. So we had a busy weekend.
Nice, very good. Are you one of those artsy types? Are you into art or?
You know what? I went because it's my friend, but I was very impressed. And I think as I get older, my taste is changing. So I think I'm becoming a artsy fartsy person.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
We have a whole bunch of hellos here, Gene. So let's just pop them them on real quick.
We can't. We got such a show tonight, Mike, that we got to get right to it. Hi, everybody. Thank you. I love you all. Mike, I'm an Elvis fanatic, right?
Yes, I do.
Elvis fanatic. So Elvis had 18 number ones in his lifetime, top fives, top 10s, 40 of them. So to reach number one is a great feat for any artist. But when you reach number one and you keep one of Elvis Presley's greatest love songs out of number one, then you know you're a true talent. I'm talking about the song Can't Help Falling in Love from the movie Blue Hawaii. Probably the biggest love song Elvis ever records, right?
Sure.
So this guy from Passaic, New Jersey records a song and holds the number one spot and basically tells Elvis, sorry, King, number one's mine. And I am so pleased and thrilled that he did me this honor. This man has taught me more about show business than a lot of people. Can you please bring via telephone my dear, 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 dear friend, Joey Dee of Joey Dee and the Starliter. Hi, Joey.
Hi, Gene. That was 5 deers. Thank you.
Well, you know what? It's 5 too little. You are. I don't know if you realize how much you mean to me, but you're one of a kind, and you were always kind, and I am so pleased that you're doing this for me. So thank you very much.
It's my pleasure to be here. I do anything for you, Gene.
I know, and the feeling's mutual. As I said in the intro, you kept Elvis Presley out of number one. And I believe I sent you the Billboard page when you did that. When I told you, did you know that? What, Joe?
I didn't know that, but what I did know was on the album chart, Peppermint, doing the twist at the Peppermint Lounge was number 2 to Blue Hawaii for a year. So we're even.
Well, you flipped it over because you kept him out of first place and number one, and that's a feat that very few people have accomplished. So, Joe, 1961, you have your big hit, but you originally started the group in the mid-'50s. Am I correct?
That's correct. I started the group in New Jersey, and I was the first integrated band in the Northeast that I knew of, and then, of course, in New Jersey, and the only integrated band to have a #1 hit recording. So I'm very proud of that fact.
That's a great fact, and a lot of people should take that to heart today, more than ever. That back in the mid-50s,
Especially today, exactly.
it was unity. Now the band. Now you were not the original front singer. You had another singer, but the name of the group was Joey Dee and the Starliters. You created this band. Did you sing in the band before the Peppermint Twist?
Yeah. Before the Peppermint Twist, I was the background singer. I was the baritone, second tenor singer in the group. But I played alto sax and I put the band together. And I was the guy who went out and got the lead singers. Here's what happened. It was a stroke of genius as far as business was concerned. I had the band, but I couldn't get gigs in the bars and the nightclubs in New Jersey because I had no lead singers. So I went out and got 2 doo-wop singers. Dave Brigatti, who became a Hall of Famer with the Young Rascals.
Yep.
He was with a group called the High Fives. And Rogers Freeman, another lead singer with the Vibratones, both in New Jersey, the best doo-wop singers in the state. And they were my 2 lead singers. So how better to start a group than have the 2 best singers and the best band? That's how we did it.
Absolutely. Now you were considered top 40. You did what was on the charts at the time.
Yeah, Billboard #1.
Billboard, right? But and you were raised on big band music. Am I correct?
I arranged big band music.
You were raised on it.
Here's what happened. Raised on it. I'm sorry. Yes. See, I come from a family of. I have 9 siblings. There are 10 of us all together, 5 boys and 5 girls. And I had an older sister, Mary, and an older sister, Rose, that loved the big band music. And they preceded me by 10 years. So that's a big span musically. So I would listen to Glenn Miller, and I'd listen to Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey. And that's how I picked up the saxophone. And that's how I started my band, because of my enamoration, with the big band music.
That's fabulous. And you played all 3 saxes, correct?
No, I only played the alto saxophone.
Okay.
But prior to that, the only instrument I ever played was harmonica. And that's how I started Joey Dee and the Thunder Trio, which was the original group.
Right.
With Dutchie, who was a Superior Court judge later in life,
yes,
and a Marine captain. So he's pretty cool. He's still around with us. And I had a guitar player who was a policeman with the Passaic Police Department named John Yannick, who passed away, unfortunately. But we were called the Thunder Trio. That's what the hell we sounded like, too.
Rolling Thunder, right?
Yeah.
Now, back then, Joey, did you work every night? Did you work every night back then?
Well, not in the beginning. When we first started the group, we worked weekends. We worked at the Armory in Passaic, New Jersey, St. Anthony CYO, the YMHA, the YMCA, all in Passaic. And this is where we cut our musical teeth in Passaic. And not a bad place, because I went to high school with the Shirelles, and they were very instrumental in getting me my first record contract with Scepter Records. And being in Passaic, I had the opportunity to go around to the surrounding towns, where I used to follow the 4 Lovers, who became Frankie Valli and the 4 Seasons. So, I mean, there's a lot of musical heritage in northern New Jersey.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a little-known guy named Frank Sinatra had a little bit to do with that as well.
Without a doubt, and Connie Francis,
yes,
and the Boss, Springsteen,
yes,
and Bon Jovi. I mean, we had a lot of great musical talent. The Happenings, it's just incredible, all the people that came out of that little state.
Absolutely.
But it was because of the proximity to New York City. That's
right. Right, of course. Joe, we have a clip of you, your first television appearance we want to show. What show was this? When you sat in the
Well,
bench?
I can't see it, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'll play it, and then you.
Was I very young there?
Yes, you were very young, and you actually sat in the nape of the bass guitar.
Okay, now I know exactly what you're talking about. That was the Ted Mack show for those of you who are septuagenarians or octogenarians. I was on the Ted Mack show, and my band and I came in second to a 6-year-old who sang Danny Boy. So that was our first musical venture.
Right.
It was successful as far as I was concerned.
Sure. We're going to show about 30 seconds, Joe, so just hold on. Mike, can you please?
You'll be able to hear it, Joe.
Passaic, New Jersey now. A 6-piece rock and roll combination. They call them the Starlighters. You boys in school, or do you work, or what?
We're 2 truck drivers, a truck driver's helper, a color matcher for an ink factory, and an aluminum awning installer.
Oh, golly, you really get around, don't you? Where have you played your rock and roll music?
Local charities and Catholic youth organizations in and around the state.
All right, let's hear something.
Wow, that's Joe. How old were you there?
I'm glad I was 12. No, I was 18 years old, but
Wow.
I got in the sack. We used to emulate Bill Haley, who was the king of rock and roll. Rock
Yes.
on the clock.
Yep.
So we tried to do his thing, and I wrote that song, by the way, the very forgettable song. I don't even remember the name of it, but that was the first song that I ever wrote, and we had a great time. And Ted Mack was a very, very nice gentleman. And back then, that was the beginning of like American Idol, because what you did for your votes was you called the station and they tallied the votes, and that's how they determined who the winner would be. So this show had a lot of foresightedness by doing a show like that. And I think later on that's what they do on American Idol.
Right. American Idol, America's Got Talent. Absolutely.
Same concept, sure.
Yeah,
and
great.
They got rid of remember the applause-o-meter?
Yeah, I don't remember that. I'm a little too young for that. The applause-o-meter.
Yeah, no, he doesn't know that, right?
I don't know that.
A lot of Gene and Mike, I have a story to tell you, and Gene knows it very well. I took Gene on the road. He was my road manager, and we went down to Florida and did some gigs, specifically at a place called Little Darlings in Kissimmee, Florida, which is actually called Kiss Me. I'm only kidding. Kissimmee, Florida, and it's right near Orlando. And the biggest names in show business appeared there. So I think it was a Halloween weekend. I said to Gene, listen, they have this Gumby costume. Would you put it on? And he was game, man. And he put the costume on. And this thing, it was sweltering. It must have been like 100 degrees. And this is in a nightclub, even with the AC going. But there were so many people in the place. We packed the place every time we were there. Wow. And the heat level must have been 120 inside that Gumby uniform.
Yeah,
so
Joey, he didn't send me that picture. He didn't send me that picture, Joey.
He didn't tell you what?
No, he didn't send me that picture. I can't show that one.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I don't think there's a picture around of it, unfortunately. But by the time he got out of that, he lost about 10 pounds, and he was sweating. He looked like a sponge that just been thrown into a bucket of water. I mean, but he was game. I gave him a lot of credit for that. I said, Gene, you'll do almost anything for me, won't you? He said, well, I just proved it, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Joe, I'm glad you told that story about Little Darlings instead of the other story when you asked me to go get the oil changed and I got arrested.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up because we want people to think of you as an altar boy. Speaking clean.
Yeah. People that
I
want
had to come and get you. I had to bail you out.
I remember that.
Hey, I lived in the Bronx for 10 years too. So Gene and I spent an awful lot of time together. And I do want to say something. Mike and Gene is nothing without his beautiful wife. And remember, I said that. And my family and I, we love her a whole lot more than we love Gene.
Speaking of my wife, Mike, why don't you put up the picture of when Joey came to my wedding and we got on stage with you, Joe, and we sang Shout. And Paulette said, I can't believe I'm standing next to Joey Dee at my wedding. And you were so gracious to come up.
To this day, I want to tell you, to this day, and I said it right after the wedding, that was one of the most fun weddings I ever went to in my life.
Wow.
And I've been to a lot of them.
We had a very small crowd, right, Joey?
Oh, man, it was a great crowd. And my grandson, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. We lost him to an automobile accident, a motorcycle accident. But Vinny, he got up and did some break dancing and tore the place up. It was just
absolutely. Absolutely. We had a small wedding, Mike. It was 520 people.
Tiny.
But yeah, I remember.
He showed.
No.
So now,
Gumby. So now, 1960, you get found by this agent, and he gets you a gig at a place called the Peppermint Lounge, and it was supposed to be a one-time, one weekend, right?
That's exactly right.
And you,
the agent was from Queens, New York. His name was Don Davis, and he was driving back from the shore past the club I was working in called Oliveri's in Lodi, New Jersey, on Route 46. So I'm giving all these details because a lot of your listeners probably know all these places, especially the people that are up in age like I am. Mm-hmm. So they'll have these fond remembrances. And he came in because he saw the parking lot was full of cars. He came in to see what the hell was going on here. And it was my band and I playing at Oliveri's, and we packed the place. And it was just a fun. I tell you, I had the two best singers, so people want to come and listen to them. It wasn't the band's greatness; it was the singer's greatness. Roger Freeman and David Brigatti, and people would flock to that place. So after we did one set, the agent Don Davis called me over and he said, "How'd you like to play in New York?" I said, "Wow, that's the stepping stone to everybody's career." I thought, and so did every other musician in New Jersey. So I said, "Yeah, we'll take the date," not knowing where, when, or how much. And then ultimately he said, "It's called the Peppermint Lounge, and meet me there tomorrow afternoon." And I did, and it was a real dump, a real dive, and it was in Hell's Kitchen on West 45th Street between 6th and 7th Avenue. And I said, "Oh man, how do I make this work?" But we were there, hired for a Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, 1960. That's 60 years ago, kiddies.
Wow.
So what happened was we went there and tore the place up. And we were a jukebox band. We played all the songs that were on the jukebox. We played the Drifters, Dance With Me, There Goes My Baby. Anything that was top 10 we played back then. And then I got a copy of The Twist by Hank Ballard. So that was part of our show. And therein lies how we became successful. We were doing The Twist. Some society people came in one night. They saw us doing it. They got up and messed around with it. And it was all serendipitous. We had the people from a New York newspaper, Charlie Knickerbocker was a major writer, write about these people he was with actually getting up. Merle Oberon was one of them, and Charlie Knickerbocker, dancing with these kids and these hookers and these sailors, because that's what the clientele was back then. And he wrote about it, and the next day we had an influx of people, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger until they used to have policemen on horseback to control the crowds before we opened up at night.
Wow.
Mike, I want to tell you some of the people.
It was a fabulous story.
I want to tell you some of the people, Mike, and our listeners that went to the Peppermint Lounge and watched Joey. We're talking about unknown celebrities like Judy Garland, John Wayne, Nat King Cole, Shirley MacLaine, Tennessee Williams, Truman Capote, the King of Vegas, Liberace, went there to see Joey Dee and the Starlighters because of these articles. And you were there.
Marilyn Monroe, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones.
Wow.
Peter New.
That's amazing.
The list was endless. It was just incredible. Right. Every night was like here's a kid from a blue-collar family in New Jersey, and I'm getting to meet the hoi polloi of the world and the biggest names in show business. Right. And what a treat. Sammy Davis Jr., he and I became very good friends. It's just amazing. I hung out with Lenny Bruce. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, man.
That is
no, it doesn't. And you know, Joe, I felt the same way when I was.
Yeah, you said Joe. What about Joe Pesci?
Yeah, well, Joe Pesci. Well, not only did he hang out with you, Joe Pesci actually played guitar for you in one of your incarnations.
We have a picture, Gene.
We got a picture, don't we?
Exactly right.
There you go. You got a picture.
He was in. I have the photo, yeah, and the first movie he ever appeared in was my first movie called Hey, Let's Twist.
Right.
I got him on as an extra.
Right.
Said, get me in the movies. I said, I'll talk to the producer and director. And I said, listen, I got a friend of mine. They said, can he dance? I said, he can do anything. So they said, okay, bring him along. He got on. And he mugs himself while I'm singing Peppermint Twist in Hey, Let's Twist. If you watch closely, you can see him. He mugs right up to the camera. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, he knew. And when I was on the set with him at The Irishman a couple of years ago, Joe, when I mentioned your name, he lit up like the Rockefeller Christmas tree, and he walked over to my table every break and talked to us to where Scorsese was saying, Joe, we're on the clock. And he said, wait a minute, I'm talking to my friend here. I'm talking to Joey Dee's cousin. And, Martin Scorsese, they're spending millions of dollars. So he didn't want to hear about, anything else. But he lit up like a Christmas tree when I told him I knew you. And he's just a great guy. And so how long were you at the Peppermint Lounge before you wrote the Peppermint Twist? Well,
we started in September of 1960. I wrote it in October of 61, so 13 months. But let me backtrack a little bit to Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
And the winner and the kind of attitude he had and why he was destined to make it. He was in a band. We had a battle of the bands in New Jersey. My band against his band were the final two bands. My band won. He quit his band on the spot and joined my band because he could never be number two. He had to be number one, and he always was.
That's smart.
And to this day, if I don't see him for a year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever I see him, we pick up like right where we left off. And he never forgot his friends. Pesci's a hell of a guy.
That he is. And we are so happy for his success in everything he does, whether it's comedy or when he had his little music career with my cousin Vinny. It's always nice to know that a real nice guy could make it in this country.
Look, he can make you laugh with Cousin Vinny, and he scared the hell out of you with Casino and Goodfellas.
Absolutely.
I mean, he ran the gamut, and Raging Bull as well.
Yes.
The guy's a hell of a talent.
Yes.
And I just want to take a minute to mention the departure, the loss of one of my dearest friends from the Four Seasons, the originator, Tommy DeVito, the guitar player. I just went out to Vegas, and I got an award to the Las Vegas Entertainers Hall of Fame in August. I stayed at Tommy's house for 3 days. 2 weeks later, he passed away, and he was just one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Wow.
We remember Tommy fondly, and we thank him for having the foresight to bring the seasons four freshmen, everybody else to.
He put them together. He hired Bob Gaudio and Frankie Valli.
Right.
So
Yes.
if you've seen the play Goodfellas, you've seen the play Jersey Boys or the movie Jersey Boys, you know the story, man.
Yes, without a doubt. So now you got a hit record. Hollywood comes calling. Now, we saw you on the show. We see the picture of you. You had a model-like quality face, Joe. You were very, very, very handsome. So Hollywood saw this and decided to make you a leading man in not one, but two motion pictures.
Which is great. They were both, I call them D movies, after Joey Dee, because they never went anywhere, but they were fun as hell to do, man. I got to meet Teddy Randazzo, Joanne Campbell, and Harris. I got to meet Charles Nelson Riley in Two Tickets to Paris and the Kay Medford. So it was a great time. We did the movies in like 3 weeks each. Were they Gone with the Wind or The Godfather? No. But were they a lot of fun? Yes. And who gets a chance to make a movie for Columbia and Paramount? Not too many people can say that, man.
That's true.
And be the star.
Wow.
So now you go to Hollywood.
Hey, are you guys? What's that?
You go to Hollywood. What is your family thinking about this? I mean, are they in awe that their brother is a national and international celebrity, or did they take it tongue in cheek, nonchalant?
They were the opposite of nonchalant. They were totally thrilled by my success, especially my mother, because you may not know this, your listening audience anyway. I was going to be a school teacher. I went to William Patterson College in New Jersey. I wanted to teach history and English. And I took a hiatus for 6 months. And that's when I worked at Oliveri's, and that's when we got discovered. And that's when I stopped my educational career and made music my life, my livelihood. Wow. So, but that's where that was all about. But my mother wanted me to be a school teacher or a professor. I wanted to be a professor in college. That was ultimately my goal, education-wise. But once I got bit by the music bug, there was no turning back. And that's one of my biggest regrets. I never graduated college. I went only 2 years. But being in music, I've never regretted 1 minute of it.
And it happens so fast for you too, right? It just seems boom, boom, boom. And in a matter of what, 4 or 5 years, you go from the one club to making Hollywood movies.
Yeah, well, here's another instance that has a play into the scenario. By being in New Jersey, we became the #1 band. We played at a place called the Irvington House. And in the Irvington House, every week they would have a star come in who had a hit record. Frankie Avalon, Baby, and most of them were the Philly guys. Connie Francis. Now here's where I'm saying, I want to be one of these people. I want to be a star just like they are. And we backed up Connie Francis and Frankie, Bobby Rydell. And it was so much fun. And I said, this is what it's like to be a star. And I loved it. And I loved the accolades. And having gone to high school with the Shirelles, and they had a hit record while they were in high school, I'm saying it doesn't get better than that. And I had to be in show business. Right. I was testing.
Well, we're so happy you picked it because you made some of the best party songs. But then you had a bout with a beautiful ballad that was written for your second movie by a gentleman we just lost, Mr. Johnny Nash of I Can See Clearly Now.
What a talent. What a talent.
We have a clip from the movie.
Talent, man. And you know, well, that's great. And I hope you can have time to play, but I just want to talk a little bit about Johnny.
Sure.
I met him while he taught me the song while we were doing a movie in 1962. And he couldn't have been a nicer guy. And here's a guy with an angelic voice. I Can See Clearly Now, and all the reggae music, because he was from Houston, but he lived in Jamaica a lot of his life. And he did a reggae version of What Kind of Love Is This? It's Second to None. and his version of What Kind of Love Is This is spectacular. I sang exactly what he sang on the record. I just emulated what he did because I knew I couldn't do it any better. Matter of fact, I didn't even do it as good. But that's how great the song was. It became, a top 20 song for us. But Johnny's a sweet man,
Yeah.
and a tremendous loss.
No, absolutely. Mike, can you play a little bit of that clip of What Kind of Love Is This, please, for our viewers? Wow. What a great song, huh?
Isn't it a great song? That was Henry Glover, who was the A&R man for Roulette, who hired the conductor for that. And the arranger was Marty Manning, who arranged San Francisco for Tony Bennett. I mean, Henry went out and got me the best. We had all strings and 4 trombones. Such a unique instrumentation. It was just fabulous. When I heard the track, I was just overwhelmed. All I had to do was show up, man.
Well,
that was a hit before I even put my voice on it.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that the East Coast attitude came through while you were telling the young lady what kind of love is this. When I don't think I've ever heard another song that has the word psycho case in it.
I'm sure there are plenty now, Dave.
Probably.
I know. Hey, we got a couple of hellos, Joe, that we want to mention. Of course, a guy Lou Payne. You know Lou Payne, my father?
Of course.
Yes, he's in South Carolina. He said
one of my favorite people. What a great guy.
Yes, absolutely.
He used to follow me before I was famous.
Yes.
When we were just Joey Dee and the Starliters from Jersey. He used to come in with your mom.
Yeah, many, many moons ago. So now, Joe.
Yeah, you're right.
One of the most fascinating things about your career, which a lot of people might not know, is that in addition to having your own success, you were a springboard for some of the biggest acts of the rock and roll era. You kind of founded a girl group called the Ronettes. Can you tell us about how that came about?
They're in my group. Well, they came in the Peppermint Lounge while we were in its heyday in 1961, 62, right in that time period. And they asked if they can sing on stage with us. They were 16 years old. First of all, I don't know how they even got in there illegally, except that they were so pretty and they were all dressed. And they said, "Give me a chance." And I said, "You know what? The Shirelles gave me a chance once. I'll give them a chance. They're so pretty. Even if they can't sing it, it won't matter." Well, they got up on stage and did What I Say and tore the house down. I hired them that night, and I had to go to Harlem to meet their Ronnie's and Estelle's parents because they wanted the okay. There was no hanky-panky going on here. And it was a legitimate business deal. And I took them on the road with me to Wildwood, New Jersey. And then Phil Spector discovered him and hired him. And the rest, they're in the Hall of Fame. I want to tell you, through Joey Dee and the Starlighters, not to pat myself on the back, but I am, 7 people are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and 1 won an Academy Award. So I got a pretty good eye for talent. And I think Gene DiNapoli's a hell of a talent. I got news for you. All he needs is that one big break like we all did.
Thank you, Joey. That's validity coming from you, which I admire more than you'll ever know.
That's high praise to people. And what about in '63 when I went to Europe? You got that in there?
I do. So now you have Peppermint Twist.
From Sweden.
Yep. Peppermint Twist. Hey, let's twist. The biggest party song in the world, Shout, goes to number 2. And now you decide you're going on the road. You're going on tour, and you got Hot Pastrami with Mashed Potato. You're the hottest club band on the planet, and you wind up overseas. And you're playing a nightclub, and you got a couple of guys on stage with you. Who are those guys, Joe?
My opening act in Stockholm, Sweden, 1963, were the Beatles.
Opening
and this
act.
is before they came here. Yeah, they were the open, and I have the pictures to prove it.
Oh.
Wow.
But they were great guys. We had a party that night, and they said, when we come to the States, we're coming in. This is the end of 1963, and they said, we're coming into the States. We're coming to the Peppermint Lounge to see you. And I want to tell you something. They kept their word. All four of them came in with Murray the K. And I got the pictures of that to prove it, too.
Wow.
And speaking about all this proof and pictures, I got a book that's coming out. If you know anybody that's a publisher or knows a publisher, I would like the book out. I got so many fantastic stories that should be told and need to be told.
Absolutely. And I think we could help with that, Joe. We've met a few
Yeah.
people over the past couple of months that me and Mike are doing this, along with the acting. And I think we could actually sit down. It's worth a discussion over lunch. So we should meet at Rutt's Hut.
Yeah, let's do that.
We should meet at Rutt's Hut.
Now you're talking. Now you know about that in New Jersey.
I do. I do.
Number one hot dog joint in the country.
Yes. So
Anyway, if we can get somebody to help me with this situation that I'm having, I want to get the book out. I'll be tremendously indebted to you guys. And if you know somebody, the stories tell themselves. I mean, it's sing-songy, it's happy, it's sad, it's got my history with Jimi Hendrix in my band, being on the road with him for a year. I mean, the Beatles opening for me, having a party, hanging out with these guys. Not too many people can say that.
No.
Pesci in the band, who can say that?
No, keep that picture up. So Joe, on your website, joeydee.com, is a picture of you and Hendrix. Where was that taken?
That was taken in Buffalo, New York, a place called McVann's. The year was 1965, just before he became famous. He left my group. He worked in my nightclub. I had a club in 65 called the Starliter on West 46th Street. And he played in my house band. He was in it. Felix was in it. I'm from the Rascals.
Yep.
I'm telling you, it was a superstar band. And Eddie Brigatti from the Young Rascals, Dave Brigatti. The band was fantastic. And Hendrix was my guitar player. So while he's working there, Eric Burden and Chaz Chandler from the Animals come in. What's going on here? They hear this guitar playing, get blown away. Now, unbeknownst to me, they're talking to him and making him offers to bring him to England. And I'm tickled to death when somebody makes successes like the Ronettes. I'm glad that I was able to showcase them. The Rascals, put them together. They made it. Jimi Hendrix, he was with me. While he was with me, it was a great experience. And then he went on his own. Look, he became the world's greatest guitar player.
Absolutely.
And that makes me happy. Not contrarily, as some people would think, there would be a jealous aspect to it. None at all. I'm pleased to say, wow, you had a pretty good eye, man, to pick these kinds of people to be starlighters in your band. Incredible.
Yeah,
and Jimi
amazing.
Hendrix, greatest guy in the world. What a he couldn't sing a lick though. What happened was we had him come to rehearsal, and I wanted him to sing the Bob Shoebox with Dave Brigatti and Tommy Davis, who was the other background singer at the time. And he was awful. I said, Jimmy, you play the guitar so great. You know what? Just play the guitar. You don't have to sing anymore.
Wow.
But he came on later as a great stylist. He followed the Bob Dylan sort of talking, singing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
You got a lot, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Well, his guitar work spoke for itself.
You can't knock success, man.
No.
And I'm not doing that. I'm not jealous of it. I just call it like I see it, man. The man was not a background singer, but was he a great guitar player? The greatest. Was he a great entertainer? One of the greatest. So you take it like that. The Ronettes, Ronnie's still out there killing them.
Yep.
Well, not currently, but soon as they put the plug back in and the shows go back on and the lights go on, she'll be right front and center.
Absolutely. Because she's a trooper. She's a trooper. Just like you, Joe, I've seen.
I want to.
Yeah.
Go ahead, finish.
I've seen situations that could have sidelined people, and you persevered and took things with a grain of salt, because you said once you're going to perform the same way for 1,000 people to one people. And I learned that from you, that if there's the one person in the audience, they deserve your best. And that was something I will take for years to come. So that's a great philosophy.
Politely trying to say there were a lot of times where the audience was sparse. Sometimes the band outnumbered the audience, but you know what? I always gave 100%. Nobody could ever say they came in and I didn't give my full potential. And I teach that my children and my grandchildren are in show business, and that's the first thing I taught them. I don't care what kind of gig you're doing. You do your best every time you get up on that stage, or don't get up on that stage. And I want to tell Mike, are you listening?
I'm listening.
Gene, are you listening?
Yes, sir.
I want to say happy holidays to all our friends and family. I want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, which is coming upon us shortly. God bless everybody. I still believe in that respect. I was an altar boy, and I still have those roots. But I just want you two guys to know you're very boring, and I had enough of you, and I'm hanging up right now, okay?
I love you, Joe.
I learned that from Joe Pesci. I love you guys, too.
I'll call you.
Have a good
Don't
night.
forget,
You
I need a book out.
Yes,
You got it. I'll call you next week,
We'll
Joey.
be in touch.
I'll call you next week.
I love you.
Bye. Hey, Mike, we're going to stay on.
I hope it was as much fun for you guys as it was for me.
Joe, we got some comments
Yes.
that everybody is so tickled pink, and you're a great guest. And once we get the book out, we're going to have you on again.
One more thing yesterday was Larry Chance's birthday. Happy birthday, Larry. I love you, man.
Yes, it's today, and he says hello to you, too. I spoke to him about an hour ago.
Yeah, the 19th. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
So, Joe, safe travel, right. Joe. We'll talk to you.
Take care, Joe.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.
So everybody stick with us. Joey was in his car. Mike, why don't you play a couple of clips? Joey mentioned a place called Little Darlings in Florida where I got arrested. That's another story.
That's another show.
But why don't you play a little bit of Joey Dee and the Starlighters at Little Darlings?
Okay.
I think this was 1987, I think.
87? Okay, let's play it.
I think.
You know you make me wanna shout, throw my hands up and shout, kick my heels back and shout, throw my head back and shout. Come on now, don't forget to say you will shout. Come on, don't forget to say yeah, 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 yeah. You got to say it well. Say it right now, baby. Say it well. Come on, come on. Say it well. Say that say it well. Come on now, say that you love me, say that you need me, say that you want me, say you wanna please me. Say come on now, say come on now. That
was actually Shout.
That was Shout, right? Little Darlings,
Shout, yeah.
1988.
So this club, Little Darlings, was in Kissimmee, Florida, and Joe. It was first. It was owned by Wolfman Jack.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Wolfman had a piece of the place, and then other investors took it. I got a friend of mine watching us, Anthony Cusio from high school, who lived right outside Kissimmee, but maybe about an hour. And we were down there one year, and it was my birthday. And I was so sad that I couldn't be home celebrating my birthday because Joey would play down there for 2-3 months at a time. And Anthony and his lovely wife back then, they made dinner for us and the band. And it was the best Italian meal we had in 3 months, which was great.
Chicken parm.
Chicken parm, yeah. Yeah. We got some great comments. Ed Montalbano, I sang the Peppermint Twist at his wedding. Of course, I remember that. So go back and play the Peppermint Twist, which was the other clip, Mike, if you don't mind.
This one, I don't think was from Little Darlings. Let's play it.
Great. You know, everybody, these clips are readily available on the internet. So if you like them, please look them up. I just want to give everybody a little taste. I want to let you know that you're making comments, which we love, but I can't see them because they're so small due to our StreamYard. So if I don't respond, please don't think I'm not disrespecting anybody. I just can't read them as fast.
Yeah, and I try to pop them up here then, Gene, but I don't, like, you know, if you're in stride, it's a little, you know.
No, I got you.
They're all positive.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, we really got to try to help Joey get that book done.
Well, we'll talk, Gene. I know a couple people that will definitely.
Yeah. So just to let you know, so Joey, if you go back to that clip of him doing Shout, there was a keyboard player, African-American guy named Jimmy Jones Jr., whose father was Jimmy Jones Sr., who had the song Handyman and Good Timin'. I mean, even into the 80s and 90s, Joey always added something extra with his performances by bringing in other talents, such as what he did in the early 2000s. You might remember a show called Rock Rhythm and Doo-Wop on Channel 13 PBS. And alongside Joey was David Brigatti and another brother of a famous singer, Bobby Valley. Bobby Valley worked with Joey for a few years on and off. And Bobby's a great talent as well. So Joe really has an eye for talent. Now when Joey goes out, he goes out with a group called the Soul Survivors, who had a hit called Expressway to Your Heart. He's got a couple of those guys in the band. Yeah. You see to my my left over here, this is Joey Dee, his two children, Ronnie and Jamie. There you go. And his grandson, AJ. AJ was at my wedding as a little baby. Jamie is one of the finest vocalists I've ever heard. And Ronnie is an enigma because Ronnie, Mike, has a band. And every couple of years, the band reinvents themselves either as a swing band or a heavy metal band or a hard rock band or a pop band. They're called the Superstars, and they're based out of Tampa. And if anybody's down there in Florida, please go see them because they are so fabulous. It's really wonderful. And they were really the first family of rock and roll because Joey's second wife was my distant cousin Lois, and she was in the band as well. So it was a family affair with Joey, Mike. It really was.
It's just he's a magnet. He's a magnet to this talent. You hear these names, Gene, and you're like, wow. You know, I was trying to keep track, write them down as he was going along, and I had to stop at the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. Where do you go from there?
Well, where do you go from there? You go to the Young Rascals, that 3 or 4 Young Rascals.
Sure.
Their career, you know, Joey got them together. You go now. Here's a guy who didn't have a hit for a long time, yet made himself one of the best live acts in clubs all over America. And I'm going to tell you a story. For a lot of years, Joey Dee didn't fly, Mike. He did not like to fly. So I got to travel in a van with Joey for many, many years. And one time we were doing a tour. I say we because I throw myself in there, but
sure.
Joey was doing a tour. It was called The Legends of Rock and Roll. Now listen to this lineup. Okay, so opening the show was Sam Moore of Sam and Dave. Okay. And then Sam would go back to his room because Sam, you know, super voice, he didn't stay on stage. So on stage, you had Joey Dee, Peppermint Twist. You had Shirley Alston from the Shirelles, Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow? You had Arlene Smith of the Chantels, Maybe. You had Jimmy Beaumont of the Skyliners, Since I Don't Have You. You had Little Anthony of the Imperials with Tears on My Pillow. And then you had Fred Paris of the Five Satins in the Still of the Night. And what they would do is they would do their solo songs and sing backup for each other. You understand?
Did these songs really hit the charts though, Gene? Were they already success? These songs?
I'm going back to 1980.
Oh, 80. Okay, gotcha.
When I worked for Joey. So we were driving. We were in Ohio, and we were doing a show for Mickey DeVinco, and Mickey DeVinco was one of Judy Garland's husbands. And we went back to his house, and he had a party, and I got to hold the ruby slippers. There were 3 or 4 of them, one's in the Smithsonian. Right. So we were going from Ohio to probably Michigan. So Joey said to me, all right, you slept during the day. You're going to take the first shift. And the shift was either 3 hours or 200 miles. So that's what you drove. If you did 200 miles in 5 hours, sorry. So I get behind the wheel of the car. We got a big van, with the captain's chairs. And we stop at a roadside rest stop to eat. And Arlene Smith has on a beautiful fur coat. So we walk into this roadside diner, where it said eat. That was the name of it.
Eat. Yep.
And I go in the bathroom, and while I'm doing my business, 2 other guys walk in, and they said to each other, hey, did you see that girl out there with the fur coat? Yeah, well, my wife would like that. I think I'm going to approach her. So I said, all right. So I was in the bathroom stall, and Arlene Smith is an African-American woman, and these guys were, Midwestern guys, and they thought they were going to get over on New Yorkers. So I walk out of the bathroom, and I walk right up to Arlene Smith, and I put my arm around her. I said, Mom, do you want pancakes to go on the road? So she looked at me. She goes, yes, honey. And I saw these 2 guys walk out of the diner. Right? So here I am. I'm very proud. I protected my friend. We get in the van. Now I got to drive to 3 hours or 200 miles. It starts to snow. We're driving about 40 minutes, and all of a sudden, a guy is on a bicycle in the middle of the highway in a blizzard. I hit the brake. Joey goes flying into the windshield. Everybody comes out of their chairs. There was no guy on a bicycle. I was hallucinating.
Your shift was over.
Joey grabbed me by the hair. He said, get out of the chair. I almost killed the upper echelon of doo-wop and rock and roll.
So it's either 300 miles, 5 hours, or kill somebody.
No, it was 3 hours.
3 hours? 200
miles, or kill 6 of the greatest voices in rock and roll history. And I could write a book on the stories that I had with Joey. So for those of you that want to know the arrestment story, because I see a couple of people making comments. So we were in Florida for 3 months at one time, Mike, and my license got suspended for a $25 loitering ticket that I got. So I was driving to the oil change place, and I was speeding. I got pulled over, and the guy said to me, please step out of the car. And I said, why? He says, well, you're going to get arrested. I said, for what? He said, there's a warrant out for your arrest.
Oh, boy.
So this is like 8:30 in the morning. Joey doesn't get up till 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So, and there were no cell phones.
Right.
So now I go to jail, and they were very nice. They put me in a cell. They didn't lock the door. We were playing cards. But I'm calling Joey every hour. I'm calling the hotel, and they're trying to get me out of jail, and they just can't get me out of jail. So at the time, I was seeing a waitress at that club, and she was also seeing one of the owners, which was fine because everybody was just dating, whatever. So I get out about 11 o'clock that night. So I'm in jail 12 plus hours, right? So I go in the back, and I think you got the picture of me and Joey. Do you got the picture of me and Joey where not the one where he's in red. He's in a black tux. Do you got that picture?
I don't have that one.
All right. Well, it's in the video that we play. So anyway, I'm in the back in the kitchen, and Joey's there, and he says, "You okay?" I says, "Yeah." I says, it was a trying time, And the owner walks in and he says, How'd you enjoy your time in jail? And I said, well, I'm from the Bronx, no big deal, but I'm sorry I missed the show. He said, maybe that'll teach you to date my waitress. So I looked at him. I said, what do you mean? He said, I could have got you out in a half hour, but I wanted to teach you a lesson. So I look at Joey and I pick up the frying pan and I'm chasing this guy around the kitchen and I'm going to clobber him. And Joey's wife, Lois, walks in and she says, what are you doing? What are you doing? You can't hit him. And I says, he kept me in jail for 12 hours. And she took the frying pan and started running after him.
That's great. That's great.
It was definitely a great time in my life.
It's actually the picture behind you, Gene, on the banner. It's on the banner.
Well, that's recent, Mike. That's
there it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's recent.
Yeah.
I went to see Joey in Jersey, but there was another time where I took the picture. And, Joey was the first person to bring me to Graceland. We were on the road. We were going to Dallas, Texas. Mm-hmm. And we were about 100 miles from Memphis. And he said, Graceland is open. And I said, yeah, I know. He said, you want to go? He said, yeah, I want to go. Sure. I got pictures of that. And Joey took me there. And when Joey walked into the hallway where there was all the gold records, he tugged on my shirt and he says, I thought I was famous. I had one. But, a humble man. Joey's a very humble man. We learned a lot from Joey. Learned professionalism, learned how to care, learned courtesy. I can't tell you how many gigs I was on with Joey, especially in the Midwest, where they would do these PBA shows where they would get a journal. You know what a journal is, mm-hmm. right? And they would take ads out, and then they would give these people tickets to the show, but people wouldn't show up. They put them in the drawer. So I remember we were with Lou Christie, the Marvelettes, the Platters, and Joey, and I think there was 20 people in the audience in a 5,000-seat arena because they never advertised.
Right.
It was just to make money. But, Lou Christie, they all went on stage, and you would have thought they got paid $1 million each the way they performed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was a sort of a mentor and everything while on the road.
There is no other word. It doesn't sound like it. It is.
Yeah.
He is my mentor, and anything I do, I always, I didn't know Elvis, so I don't say, what would Elvis do? I would say, what would Joey Dee do?
Right.
I remember Atlantic City, he was doing shows with Dion, and Joey, Shout is a great song, but when Joey Dee does it, very few people could follow him. Of course, Dion is a legend, but I remember there were nights where Joey was supposed to close the half or close the show, and there would be like a 10-city tour, and they would go up to the promoter and say, "Please don't put us on after Joey. We can't follow him. Can't follow him." And Joey used to jump up in this sky. You got a picture of Joey now?
I do. I have this one right here.
That's pretty recent. And then there's another one I think you have where the Godfather of the Twit. There we go. Yeah. I mean, look at this guy's smile. This guy is a picture of health, picture of happiness. I mean, if you got a chance to see this man in action, you really should check him out. So, and then the greatest compliment you could get is when your hometown recognizes you. There's an old saying you can't go home again. But in 2010, Joey Dee went back to Passaic, New Jersey for the unveiling of Joey Dee Way. So his town recognized his talents.
Wow.
And he got one of the greatest awards
Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah, he's really a wealth of knowledge. I can't tell you. And now he's got his legacy lives on with his son, his daughter, his grandsons. AJ is a virtuoso. The kid plays guitar. I got to tell you, if this kid doesn't become a star, then there's definitely something wrong with the music business.
Yeah,
I love them dearly. Joey's son, Ronnie, who's right there in the picture, right here.
Yep.
Where's it? Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on the right. Ronnie lived with me in the Bronx. Ronnie was up here trying to get a record contract, and he needed a job because gigs were scarce. So I was running a security job for Kmart when they would build a new Kmart, and I gave Ronnie a job, and then I gave him the title of sergeant, which was the worst thing I could do because he would walk around with the stick. And, you could stand up for 12 hours and he would hit people in the knees. And there's no blood between us, but I consider the Dee family to me.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's because of Joey that we're going to get some of our guests, because a lot of our guests don't know me. I'm not a celebrity, of course. I'm not famous, but I call up people like we're going to have Ron Dante from the Archies, who was a great producer and did this song Sugar Sugar. And he was apprehensive. And I said, listen, my integrity speaks for himself. I know Joey Dee very well. And he said, you got me. Okay. And Billy Vera we're going to have up. And when he found out I knew Joey, he jumped on the bandwagon. It's so great when you have somebody that you could talk about that knows you personally, which gives other people confidence in doing your show. Next week, we got another great, listen to me. Joey had a few hits, but if you're going to have one big hit, Little Star, where are you, Little Star? Vito Picone from Vito and the Elegants is going to be with us next week. Can you put the banner up, Mike?
I don't have it up here, Gene, on this show.
Okay.
We'll post it up. We'll post it for the next show.
So we got him, and that's October 26th. And then November 2nd, we have, in 1987, you cannot go anywhere without hearing a song called At This Moment. It was done by Tom Jones, Wayne Newton, Engelbert. Billy Vera of Billy Vera and the Beaters is going to be with us. Not only a fine singer, but a fine songwriter. November 9th, we have a dear friend of mine who was in The Sopranos and also in The Godfather. He's the only actor, Mike, who was in the original Godfather and The Sopranos.
Right.
And he was a little boy. My dear friend Lou Martini will be with us on the 9th. On the 16th, listen to this guy. You remember in Goodfellas, Joe Pesci hits a guy in the head with a bottle?
Yeah.
Tony Darrow is going to be with us on the 16th, which is going to be a great show. Now, here's a guy that's a triple threat: singer, actor, comedian. We're gonna let people know that Tony Darrow is not a one-trick pony. This man had a career, Australia, Sweden, Germany. We are getting some really fabulous guests to be a part of our show.
And you know what, Gene? It's not just what they did in certain movies. It's the stories they tell that I think are what the people really seem to like.
Well, you know what, Mike? They do other shows. They give them 15 minutes and they talk about the hits.
Right.
We give them 45 minutes to an hour, and I want to know the stories behind the stories.
Right. We found out the Gumby story, the chicken parm in the woods story. There's just a lot that comes out, and it's great. But we're over an hour, Gene. I don't know. If you wanna...
couple. Please go to our page, Reminiscing with Gene DiNapoli. Look up the button that says offers. Visit our sponsors. Everybody is really helping us out here, and we want to get our friends some business. So check that out. Follow me on YouTube under Gene DiNapoli. And you know what, Mike? I'm doing a movie this weekend.
Nice. What are you doing?
I'm doing a movie called Pumpkin Hole, which I don't know where that name came from. but I play Big Vin, and it's not a mobster role. I play the dad. Remember in Goodfellas, there was a young kid that played Henry Hill as a child?
Sure.
His name is Chris Cerrone, and I play his father. So I'll be with Chris a few days this weekend. I want to thank Mark and PJ for JP for putting me in that. And Chris will do our podcast as well in December. And in January, we're going to make it all Elvis month. Every Monday is going to be Elvis related. On my birthday, January 4th, we have Elvis Presley's stepbrother, Billy Stanley. His mother married Elvis's father in 1960. So he was Elvis's stepbrother for 17 years. And then we have a couple of other people. We have Larry Strickland, who was one of Elvis's backup singers in the Stamps, who married the very beautiful Naomi Judd after that. Not shabby, right?
No.
We have Karen K. Lee and her sister, I think her sister Aileen, whose mother wrote 43 songs for Elvis.
That's incredible.
And then I think our last guest, I still have to finalize it, is Charles Stone, who was Elvis's road manager. And he's going to have some very interesting story to tell. So it's going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, please follow our page, share it with your friends, subscribe to my YouTube channel under Gene DiNapoli so you'll get it all. Mike, thank you again. Thanks to Joey Dee for giving this show validity and a boost and to say such sweet things about me. Maybe we'll do a show on my career in December. Just what I've done, a little bit here and there.
Sure.
If anybody wants to hear that, send us a message. If you want to hear about my being arrested at Graceland, I got not once, but twice. Okay. We got stories about that. Mike, have a great rest of the week.
You too, Gene. And everyone, just go check out our sponsors and also go read the comments. A lot of really nice comments too.
And please stay abreast on joeyd.com. And just everybody, just send us messages. My email is through the website, genedinapoli.com. And as always, be safe, be well, and God bless America.
We'll see you next week. Good night,
See you
Gene.
next week. Bye, everybody.